Hello my friends, welcome back and happy Monday. Something insane happened on the weekend and actually connected to the campaign I launched on Friday. You guys did amazing. In 2 days you guys gathered $109,000, 635 donators all across the world. You know, if you have been donating, thank you very much. We're going to raise the goal to 130 and then we're going to close it. This is going to be the most legendary Christmas present for the Ukrainian GUR drone units, and they are going to drop the most legendary Christmas presents onto the Russian units. And it's all possible thanks to you. So links in the description. With your help, we'll get to 130K and then we'll deliver these 2 Baba Yaga drones and 10 needle drones and 2 cars to the Ukrainian GUR drone units. Let's make it happen, my friends. You've done amazing. But the good news don't end there. And this next one, you know, when we had Prigozhin shenanigans going on half a year ago, I advised you to get popcorn every time before you watch something. Well, the popcorn moments are back. Zelensky versus Orban. Yes, we're talking about Viktor Orban, the pro-Russian, very openly pro-Russian leader of Hungary, the most openly pro-Russian country in the EU, and unfortunately a disgrace to the EU's reputation, because Orban is fully fascist. He's a Putin's fangirl. And how did they meet, Zelensky and Orban? Well, these two guys don't like each other because obvious reasons. Zelensky being the president of Ukraine and Orban being very openly pro-Putin and pro-Russia, and is very openly trying to stop the EU and United States aid to Ukraine, doing everything in his power actually to stop it. Well, it all happened in the inauguration of Argentinian president. And I'll get back to the topic of the beef between these two giants. I just want to give credits to Argentinian president first. Zelensky flew to Argentina, right, to the inauguration of the new president. And it's a ballsy move because the dude is busy. I mean, Zelensky has to fly all over, but he flew there. He met the guy, they hugged. I love to see that, Zelensky making allies in the South Americas. And then the Argentinian new president, what does he do? Well, he pulls a pro-gamer move. Look at this. He gives a menorah to Zelensky, who has very direct Jewish roots, and Russians and Russian leadership accusing Zelensky's leadership of being Nazis. I mean, this is insanely stupid because Zelensky is Jewish. An Argentinian president knows it, not like Putin, and actually gives him a menorah. Way to go, pro-gamer move, plus points gained. Okay, now we get to the juicy parts. So this is how they were seated, Zelensky and Orban, both seated quite next to each other. There is just one guy in the middle. And I think this is deliberate because there's so many people, so many seats in this inauguration. What are the odds that these guys are next to each other? I think Zelensky asked to be next to Orban because he's not afraid of confrontation. I mean, this was proven already back in February when he said, I need ammunition, not a ride. I will stay in Kiev. Look at Orban, pushed to the corner like a rat. Look at this video. This illustrates it perfectly. Everybody mingling, all the leaders, and Orban. Don't know what to do with my hands. It's not easy being the only fascist country in pro-democracy Europe. Everybody mingling, taking photos, Orban, don't have no friends. Well, Estonian Kaja Kallas talking to Ursula von der Leyen, mingling about democracy. Orban still thinking his thinking his fascist thoughts. Sad moments. Everybody being happy, Scholz being all democratic here, Orban still being a fascist dictator. Oh no. Look at that face. That is the face of I have no friends because I'm a fascist dictator. In this video, you can actually see Zelensky speaking face to face to Orban, and look at that face. This is prey versus predator, and the prey is, of course, Orban here. Look at these eyes. I mean, Zelensky every day visits the front, the graveyards, the mass execution sites of the Russian army. These eyes have seen the suffering of the Ukrainian people, and then he's faced against a rat like Orban. I mean, there is no competition here. It is clear. Orban is cornered, and it gives respect points in my eyes to Zelensky because it shows he's not afraid of confrontation and confronting people who are openly against him. Respect in my eyes. Now, this is the same scene filmed from above, and what does it remind you of? Look at Zelensky, look at Orban. He looks like a cornered rat, honestly. Everybody, they're filming them. I mean, this is the most exciting moment in this inauguration. And Zelensky is talking to him quite frankly, and I doubt they actually talked anything straight. But I am glad to see he's a man of words, not like Putin, who actually just throws his opponents out of the window. I value talking face to face, and I see Zelensky has the same values. I'll read you this report by Tendar. On December 11th, Volodymyr Zelensky will begin a working visit to the United States of America. The president of Ukraine will meet the president of the United States, Joe Biden, and will hold a number of meetings and negotiations. Volodymyr Zelensky will focus on ensuring the unity of the US, Europe, and the world around, supporting Ukraine in defense against Russian terror and in strengthening the international order based on rules and respect for the sovereignty of each nation. Now, this middle paragraph right here is all about what I care, because Estonia's freedom is very much connected to the rules-based world order. We, as a small country and small military, we fully depend on bigger countries respecting this rules-based order. So in my eyes, I support everybody who supports this order. Zelensky is fulfilling that mission in Washington, so I'm fully behind him. Among the key topics at the negotiation in Washington will be the continuation of defense cooperation between Ukraine and United States, in particular joint projects for the production of weapons and air defense systems, as well as the coordination of the efforts of the two states in the coming year. I'm glad to see that. And now, my friends, I haven't had many advertisements thanks to the patrons, but I do have to accept some because I do frequent trips to Ukraine, putting 1 week of my entire month where I should be working into Ukraine, supporting Ukraine. And in that case, I'm actually losing revenue. So today we have an ad. Thank you, Fume, for sponsoring today's video. Let's go. Cold turkey may be great on sandwiches, but there's a better way to break your bad habits. I'm not talking about some weird mind voodoo stuff from your crazy neighbor. No. I'm talking about my sponsor, Fume. And they look at the problem in a different way. Not everything in a bad habit is wrong. So instead of drastic, uncomfortable change, why not just remove the bad from your habit? Fume is an innovative, award-winning device that does just that. Instead of electronics, Fume is completely natural. Instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. And instead of harmful chemicals, Fume uses all natural delicious flavors. You get it? Instead of bad, Fume is good. It's a habit you're free to enjoy and makes replacing your bad habit easy. Your Fume comes with an adjustable airflow dial and is designed with movable parts and magnets for fidgeting, giving your fingers a lot to do, which is helpful for de-stressing while breaking your habit. Being a military blogger, it can be quite stressful sometimes, so you know what people do when they're stressed? Well, this helps me relieve those bad habits. Plus, it tastes really good and I can fidget around with it, which really helps with my ADHD. Stopping is something we all put off because it's hard. But switching to Fume is easy, enjoyable and even fun. Fume has served over 150,000 customers and has thousands of success stories, and there's no reason that can't be you. Join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup from destructive habits by picking up the Journey Pack today. Head to tryfume.com/Estonian or scan the QR code and use the code Estonian to get 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. By the way, the Fume Solano launched on November 6th. You can upgrade your Journey Pack to the Solano to enjoy premium walnut barrel and onyx black coated mouthpiece that has a smoother finish, and still get 10% off. That's tryfum.com and use the code Estonian to save additional 10% off on your order today. Thank you, Fume, for sponsoring this video. And what better way to bring you back to the video than some Russian logic? Before we go on with some serious news, I want to crack you up for a little bit. Welcome to Russian logic. Estonia, Russia takes. Latvia, Russia takes. Lithuania, Russia takes. Finland, Romania, Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Ukraine, Georgia. All of these countries have had decades, if not centuries, of Russian imperialism being forced upon them. And now when NATO is expanding only for the last 70 years, and I do this because Estonia has been suffering under Russian imperialism and occupation for the last 500-600 years. NATO expansion here is only for the last century. Then Russians are immediately like, oh, they're Nazis. This is irony and dark humor. And if anybody is a Russian sympathizer in the West saying that NATO is expanding to the Russian borders, then my friends, these guys need to learn a little bit more history. In the countries bordering Russia, this stuff goes back well beyond NATO, way before. NATO is the saving angel of these countries, who came like a white shining knight and threw the bad guy away. That's the reality here. From the 1600s, Estonia has had issues with Russia, and even before. Now, my friends, Dmitry, aka War Translated, has translated a Russian troops report from Avdiivka. I always like these reports. A lot of military bloggers use reports from majors and from generals and from other military bloggers, but I prefer these reports straight from the troops because they have no incentive to lie, because their friends and comrades just died in front of them. So their every interest is to get the truth out there because they suffer. This is why I value Russian soldiers' reports on the front and Ukrainian soldiers' report on the front instead of any sugar-coated report from up above. I'll read it to you. New direction. New direction. I forgot to make the video of this trip. How long were you here? I'll say 8 days. 7 for me. 7 days on the front. Only 1 week on the front. Anyway, Avdiivka direction, closing the cauldron because Putin gave an order to the commanders in Avdiivka to close the cauldron and take the settlement by December 14th. So they have 3 more days, and these guys have been here for a week. We came here, 70 people, now we have 14 left. And the rest are dead and wounded. When we came here, this tree line was living. We were being destroyed, simply destroyed. Dead were here yesterday, they were removed. And this is one of the only instances I hear that Russians are actually removing their dead, because they don't really do that. I can't show, but the front line is there, Ohols are there. Properly entrenched with concrete fire points. 500 meters away, we were pulled back as we couldn't complete the task. I mean, charging, this is the reality in Avdiivka. Ukrainians have very strong established defensive positions, and of course they change hands sometimes, but charging across an open field, mined field, against artillery and first-person view drones who have coordinates set in the records, against concrete firing positions, hidden fire positions, it's a complete suicidal attack, and this is what's going on. By the way, how are we meant to be stormtroopers? In our group remaining, we have a mobilized Dan, myself, and the Spanish. Behind the railway are the Ukrainians. We fight them all day long. We were shelled with grads. You can see the landscape. Further are the dead. They're all over the place. This is like this weird kind of zombie apocalyptic movie. There are deads in the fog. The Ukrainians are behind this railway. You know, it's very apocalyptic and foggy here, and there are corpses everywhere. It probably reeks. I mean, when we were making the Surströmming challenge in Ukraine, and you will see that later. It's not published yet. Military bloggers did it. I mean, the smell reminded me, and some guys who were on the front and ate the Surströmming with us, and they even puked, said that it smells exactly like a rotting Russian soldier. So we kind of ate that, what reminds of a rotting Russian soldier. You will get it. It's good entertainment, but it's incredibly eerie. We can't even pull them out. Today, we're meant to be withdrawn. No idea how it's going to work. Some shrapnel on his nose. That's it. Stanislav Sergeyevich became the senior. Also Dan is senior. We survived thanks to a developed self-preservation instinct, and this is incredibly important. It might sound funny and stupid, but on the front line and in the trenches, sometimes you gotta go against your instinct. Sometimes you gotta go with it. For example, if I was talking to some soldiers who actually know how to behave. If you're on an open field and you're under artillery fire, the first instinct is to run as fast as possible, as far as possible. Get up and run. Get out away from the fire. But that's the only way to get killed. If you're laying on your stomach, covering your neck, yes, you might get killed by the shrapnel, but the percentage of that happening, the statistics is times lower than when you get up and run. And all the soldiers want to get up and run. So in this instance, you got to go against your survival instincts. There are other instances on the front line when you got to trust your instincts. And the difference, and the guys who survive, is how to make a difference. Do I stand up and run now, or do I now force myself to stay down? This is how you survive. And that's a skill which takes a lot of time to develop. And it's a trial and error, which means if you make an error, you die. So only a few survive, 14 out of 70 in this case. But you can't even imagine our tasks. Hopefully, we will live. Think I was spotted. Yeah, this was an artillery coming in. Yep. Immediately when you get out, immediately they got hit. And my friends, how do you think people are able to attack like zombies in a fog surrounded by their countrymen's corpses? Well, first of all, they have had 2 decades of brainwashing by Putin's propaganda machine, which is unfortunately incredibly effective. As bad as the Russians are on battlefield, and I always say this, they are very good at manipulating their population and generating propaganda, brainwashing their people. But that is not it. If you need to attack like zombies, if you need your people to die en masse for the dictator, sometimes propaganda falls short. And in that instance, the Russian generals and leadership, for example, in Avdiivka, they turn to drugs. I'll read you a report from a Russian soldier on the front. They have no incentive to lie because they're directly suffering through it, so this is the truth. Near Avdiivka, the Russian occupiers are suffering huge losses in personnel and equipment. All this affects the ability of the invaders to carry out an offensive operation and further demoralizes those invaders who, by some miracle, survived. And what is command of the Russian occupiers doing? That's right, it distributes drugs to the fighters so that they continue to attack mindlessly and die in the offensive while high. The occupiers themselves admit this. We inform the Russian invaders who are still running around on Ukrainian soil, they will kill you regardless of whether you are on drugs or not. At the front, this will be done by the Ukrainian Defense Forces, and in the rear by the Russians or by the partisans. Your command also knows about this. True, it doesn't care about your lives. This is a message to the Russian soldiers. Does it remind you of something? For me, it reminds me of Hitler and their SS and execution squads and the pilots who were on Pervitin, which is basically methamphetamine given to Wehrmacht and SS soldiers so they would not need to sleep and they could actually drive on into the Soviet Union without any need to sleep. Exactly the same. They give drugs to the Russian zombies also. Mindless zombies, drugged up, ready to die. I just want to give you something visually cool to look at before we go on with the analysis again. This little black dot is a Russian ground vehicle, ground drone, unmanned drone. It's probably laying mines or clearing mines or recon. Whatever it does, it's an innovation on the field. The Ukrainians also use them. And it goes to show again that this war is becoming more and more by the day only the war of drones. They're even replacing artillery because different from artillery, kamikaze drones hit almost all the time if they don't lose connection and are jammed. So this is a Russian drone. Of course, it's a high-value target immediately because any kind of drone or drone operators are. Ukrainians are seeing it because they have a drone up above. They are guiding a kamikaze drone towards it. So if I say war of drones, this doesn't only mean drones are killing Russian soldiers. This means drones are killing Russian drones. Drones versus drones. You see, a properly put Ukrainian flag colored explosive on the kamikaze drone, and it connects to the Russian drone, and bada bing, bada boom, it is knocked out cold. But it's eerie that now we have drones fighting drones. It's what? This war, Russia uses tactics straight from Second World War, and at the same time it's drones fighting drones. It's, if you think about it for a moment, it's like this weird apocalyptic movie of everything, every society is pushed back in time 500 years, but then you have this extremely high-tech technology also involved. It's strange. And again, to show you something visually, you can actually see Russian soldiers' lifespan in Avdiivka is a few days, as we saw from the previous report, from the soldier itself, and they're being drugged, not being given food. They don't even give them much ammunition. 2-3 magazines is enough because they usually die before. And they don't give them food, because why do you feed a dead, mindless zombie who's going to die anyway? And in this instance, we see a soldier with a spoon eating snow because he wasn't given any water, and he's probably hungry and thirsty. So he just eats snow while just waiting for his death, because it will arrive, because this is a Ukrainian drone watching him. A kamikaze will arrive on his location, and he's eating his last meal, which is snow. This is Putin's Ruski Mir. Now, my friends, I want to show you a clip of Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and I'm not going to even say what he says. You will hear it yourself, and I'm going to elaborate later.
Footnote on this, and this is more for the American audience. If you look at the investments that we've made in Ukraine's defense to deal with this aggression, 90% of the security assistance we provided has actually been spent here in the United States with our manufacturers, with our production, and that's produced more American jobs, more growth in our own economy. So this has also been a win-win that we need to continue.
Blinken saying 90% of the funds, tens of billions that US has funneled towards Ukraine in military aid and in funding also, most of it, 90%, has been spent in the US, generating new jobs, generating wages for people, and lifting the United States economy. If the rest of the world and Europe is suffering right now because it's stagnation in the economy, then it's not the case for the US, because all of this money feeds the US. I've been telling this for a long time, and people have been saying in the comments very different things. But now this info comes also from Antony Blinken, Secretary of State. Of course, you have a different opinion, put it in the comments. I will respectfully read it. But this is how I see it also, because all of the evidence points towards it. Ukraine is not getting this money just in a suitcase. Take this money from the US. They are getting equipment produced in the US by United States people, paying taxes in the US. It is all going back into the US economy. It is keeping the gears running. Ukraine is just getting the end product. And now, my friends, my favorite part of the video for the first time this week and many times more, I will butcher the Patreon names. These are the people who have decided to give me an early Christmas present, making sure I don't have to worry about funding and I can fully focus on aiding Ukraine. David Nickerson, Timothy Koppeland, TV, Lars Stalsberg, Justin King. Thank you to each and every one of you. And if you want to send me a direct message, because I answer all of the Patreon messages daily, then go to the Patreon, become one, and send me a message. Let's chat. Until my next update, my friends, which will be tomorrow. Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye.